Hey there, welcome back to High Infidelity, the best channel for cheating stories. Like and subscribe to channel for more spicy stories. Now, let's get into today's story video.
Wife cheated after 13 years together. Please keep in mind that my wife, 28 female, and I, 28 male, have been married for 13 years and are the proud parents of 2 children. The two of us began dating when we were 16 years old, and have been together ever since. We got married 3 years ago this month. Because we were in the kind of relationship that everyone wants to be in, it was expected of us to get married while we were still reasonably young. Between a year and a half and 2 years ago, things began to change between us and in our relationship as a whole. Her distance increased, both emotionally and physically, as a result of some family troubles. She also began to become too possessive of her phone, and she began to get more intimate with a male colleague. What happened was that I snooped, yes, I realize this is a horrible thing, on her phone because I had a sneaky suspicion that something was wrong with her due to a number of things and discovered messages indicating her involvement with this particular guy. When I inquired about it with her in early September, she revealed that it had been going on for a year at that point. It was discovered that he and she were having an affair in our home, and that they were sleeping in the same bedroom that would someday house our future children. She sincerely apologized and pledged that it would never happen again, and I informed her that, in order for us to continue our relationship, she must not have any contact with the person with whom she had cheated on me. She accepted my request and promised to never do it again. She agreed to my requirements and promised that she would never do it again. Almost 2 months later, they are still in contact on a regular basis, with her claiming that it is unreasonable of me to ask her not to interact with someone she considers to be a close friend of hers. Honestly, I'm at a loss for what to do next at this point. In an effort to test whether I can keep going, I'm afraid that I won't be able to place my trust in her ever more than once. I believe that her decision to retain contact with him indicates that she values their relationship above her and my relationship. What I'm really struggling with is deciding between what my instincts are telling me and what my intellect is urging me to do. She also urged me not to inform any of our friends about what was going on, so I don't have anybody else to turn to for guidance at this point. We really apologize for the outburst, but this is the first time I've put it all down on writing, and I honestly don't know how to continue or live with the circumstances at this point. Edit. I wasn't expecting such a big reaction from the community. The majority of you found this beneficial, with the exception of a minority of you who seem to feel that harsh replies are acceptable when someone's whole life is falling around them. I know exactly what I need to do, all that remains is for me to remove the bandage and go to work. I'm going to call the lawyer with whom I had a brief conversation a few weeks ago tomorrow and see what he has to say about how to proceed with the situation. Update 1. Following my letter to you a little more than 1 month ago, I went over all of your suggestions and contacted an attorney, notified my parents and a few close friends, and informed my wife that I want a divorce. As she sobbed and begged, she promised to make things right and to refrain from contacting with the AP in the future. We spent the whole weekend with her, making promises and saying and doing all that was expected of us. Despite the fact that I didn't believe her totally, I was willing to give her one more chance to save what I felt we had. Things were okay, we had been coexisting for about a month, but she was paying more attention to me and was less engrossed in her phone's notifications. After that, 2 weekends ago, she handed me her phone to show me something, and as I carefully went up on her open apps, there she was, on Instagram, speaking with her Associated Press reporter. After I freaked out, the woman informed me that he had just texted her and that she was unable to respond. They were talking about what they were going to do the next night as I was reading their conversation. Once again, I was taken advantage of, lied to, and duped. She said that she would ultimately ban him, but that she wanted to say goodbye since he was a pal in the meanwhile. I told her it was inexcusable and that she needed to stop all connection with him and block him immediately, which she agreed to do right away and pledged to do. I inquired of her 2 days later as to whether she had blocked him, and she said that she had not. The long and short of it is that I notified her right immediately that we were divorcing and that we could either go through mediation if she agreed with my wishes, or I could hire a lawyer and obtain what I wanted regardless of whether she agreed. She agreed to mediation, and we will begin the process as soon as possible. It took me a lot longer than it should have, but I've now gained enough self-respect to put a stop to this and go out and live the life of happiness that I so richly deserve. She continues to attempt to make me feel guilty about it all, blaming me to some extent and telling me what a terrible situation I am putting her in, but I remind her that it was her choices, not mine, that brought about this, and that she must deal with the consequences of her actions, which she does not. I've been notifying more of my friends about what happened, in addition to alerting the rest of my family about what happened. This is not how I had envisioned my life would turn out, but I see it as a blessing in disguise, and I am certain that I will meet someone who will really make me happy in the end. Final update: I was gaslighted as soon as I notified my ex-girlfriend, who is 29 years old, of our planned divorce, and the gaslighting began immediately. In the face of her accusations that I was to blame for our current predicament, that I had given up on our marriage, that it was extremely sad for me to be letting our relationship end in this manner, and that I was going to take away the house where our dog felt safe, I remained steadfast and proceeded with the divorce mediation process. During the mediation, everything went nicely, and she agreed to all I asked of her. In the mail yesterday, I got notice from the courts that I am officially a free man. Her departure occurred 1 month before the sale of our home was finished, and our house sold within 3 months of the start of mediation. We were living together while waiting for the house to sell, during which time she continued to blame me and tell me that I am terrible because I refused to speak to her at all, among a slew of other things that only an extremely ill person would believe given the circumstances, among other things, and the gaslighting continued. After the sale of my property, my parents graciously enabled me to return to their home for a few months in order to recover and figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I was able to look back on the relationship after I began attending weekly counseling sessions and see how poisonous and one-sided it had become after I began going. In order to placate her and her excessive standards and expectations, I was the one who was always putting myself last and denying myself pleasure in order to appease her and her standards and demands. She is being treated by my therapist for borderline personality disorder, which runs in her family, which makes perfect sense to me. In addition, my capacity to identify, resolve, and maintain awareness of the underlying problems that led to my involvement in a toxic relationship has been strengthened, and I am now confident in my ability to recognize the warning signals in future circumstances. I also recommitted to my physical health, shedding 15 pounds in 3 months and returned to running, where I am currently preparing for a 10K race this summer. The beginning of this month saw the relocation of my personal belongings to my own apartment in New York City, where I'm meeting up with old friends and entering into a romantic relationship for the first time in my adult life, albeit pretty unsuccessfully at this point. Aside from that, I received a promotion in my place of job a few weeks ago for which I had put out a significant amount of effort. I'm in better physical, mental, emotional, and financial form than I've been in years, and her revealing her real colors by having an affair was the most beneficial service she could have provided to me at this point in our relationship. I've kept the affair a secret from all of our common acquaintances until now, for fear that she would get enraged and withdraw from the mediation process. Having reached a settlement in our divorce proceedings, I shall inform everyone in our lives of who she is and what she has done. Wasn't all of this simply a long-winded way of expressing that everything will turn out all right in the end? Our being duped does not make us less than human, and you should strive to use this experience as a springboard to develop yourself and become the best lovely person you can be. This will most likely be my last major article on this blog because, although I do not think my road to recovery is finished, I do believe it has just began a new chapter, and lingering on what this lady did to me is not worth it at this point. I'd want to express my gratitude to you once again for all of your aid, both in terms of kind words and the difficult truth that I had to face.